Starting soon. Bob's camera.
Can I still talk?
Yeah, you can talk.
But everyone will hear you.
Everyone
Is God out
Everyone will.
there? I thought I ran fit because Jesus died on the cross for a rotten hooker.
You said it, not me.
I thought I was a good Christian. Is God out there? I thought I remember it. Jesus died on the cross. I thought I was a good Christian. I go to church every Sunday.
I like that music. It's a lullaby for me.
Get a lot of artifacts. What the fuck?
What artifacts?
Yeah.
Ancient ones?
Boys sound good to me.
One second.
Wow, Jesse Jackson got booed at a Ferguson rally.
Oh, really?
All right, we're live. Y'all ready to start? Ready?
Yep.
Okay. Here we go.
A rotten hooker.
I thought I was a good Christian.
I go to church every Sunday.
I thought I was a good Christian.
I go to church every Sunday. I'm a very religious person.
I thought I was a good Christian.
The very line the serpent told to Eve in the Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden. Garden of Eden. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel of Jesus Christ. Spread confusion and promote lies. The gospel.
Go.
Hey, everybody. It is August 18th, 2014. This Non-Religious Life. I'm your host, Ken, down in the Los Angeles area. Up in the Bay Area of California, we have Bob.
How's it going, eh?
And Jason.
Hey, what's up?
Jason's there somewhere.
I'm here.
Hello. And
Hi.
No, okay, you didn't say hello. Hi. And not just lost somewhere on the East Coast or anywhere else like that. Lost in time because he's in the future. We have Matt Brake.
From the future, I can tell
From the
you.
future.
I can tell you that you will be tired in the future.
I'm tired currently, so that's a good possibility.
What's it like in the future, Matt?
Dark.
Well, Jesus hasn't come back yet, and yeah,
It's not doesn't bode well.
at least not tomorrow.
Yeah. Not, at least not at 12:30 a.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, it's too early for him.
Too early. I mean, even Jesus needs his beauty rest.
After all these years.
So at work we've been developing this new project, and this just reminded me of it because a lot of components are very expensive, and one of my coworkers is like, "Now carry this like it's a baby dolphin." No, like it's the baby Jesus. No. Like it's baby dolphin Jesus. Utmost carefulness. But what if Jesus was a dolphin?
Then we're all screwed.
It would explain his penchant for fish.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Anyway, we have a wonderful show for everyone, despite jokes and tiredness and weird
Bad
static
jokes.
in my headphones.
Yes, sir.
And Bob not muting his stuff when he needs to. So I mean, there's a lot that's happened in the last few weeks. Would we like to start with Satanists, or would we like to start
I always
with?
want to start with Satanists.
Okay. So anyone who's listening to us back around Christmas time knows that in Oklahoma, the Satanists wanted to put up a monument to Baphomet. This was all started because there was a Christmas monument, and then there was a humanist monument in Florida. As soon as they started messing with allowing certain groups to put up whatever they wanted so that they could have certain other monuments that certain lawmakers wanted, the Satanists from New York decided that they were going to put a giant Baphomet statue there. Well, let's scroll back to last week, and the Republican governor of Oklahoma begged the wrong group of Satanists to cancel their Oklahoma City Black Mass. I get it, like, he's probably not down with how many Satanists are out there, but, I mean, if you're going to write to an organization and ask them to cancel something, you should at least probably do the cursory Google search to make sure that it's the right group.
On one hand, like, I can understand his confusion, because I'm sure he's like, it's just probably just like one Satanist group out there. Like, I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking, but didn't we predict that this would happen?
I don't remember being psychic.
No, yeah. Well, you don't have to be saying, but when I think we covered a news story where what happened was it was probably a suit that was brought by like Freedom from Religion or something, and they said, "Oh well, we're gonna allow sectarian prayer in this government space, or we're gonna allow religious observation in this government space." But what they said was they validated it in that they said, "Well, we'll be open to all religions," and we said, "I cannot wait for the Satanists to show up on that door and be ready to preach their message," because they said that they were going to allow all religions. And now here it is, the chickens have come home to roost, and they're not happy about it.
Yeah, they're going to do they had scheduled to do a Black Mass.
As is their constitutional right.
As is their constitutional right, on the at the state capitol in Oklahoma City. So,
Jason, could we go there and film this?
I'm totally down.
I don't think
Let's
it's in
go.
the budget.
It's not in the budget.
But we could do a Indiegogo campaign like we've done before.
Yeah.
We could. But remember how well that worked out.
We got new equipment.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah,
We did get new
some
equipment.
very generous supporters.
There were some
Which
generous
surprised the
supporters.
shit out of me.
Yeah. The size of a few of the donations were a surprise. That's for sure.
And that was just for my mom.
Yeah. So she's a supporter of the show.
She is.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's watching now.
Good. That's awesome.
I just think that I think that the story out of Oklahoma has, like, everybody's sort of focusing on the fact that the guy got it wrong and that he asked the wrong group, and then that the other group is upset. Which, sure, I get that, but I don't know. I just think that the bigger contextual story here is that they got what they asked for.
Yeah. They wanted prayer. They wanted religious icons, and they got it. And does anyone know what happened with the 7-foot Baphomet statue?
It's in my backyard.
Did it ever get built? I wish it was in my backyard.
They're building it now, and I also read that it was hung up on some appeal. So there's some legal proceedings that will
Okay.
are sort of like slowing up the project, but they're still moving forward with it because they said that, and these are the LaVeyan Satanists. They're the ones that built the Baphomet statue.
Yeah.
They said that even if like venue A doesn't pan out, they'll just go to the next place.
That's awesome. I mean, I know that there are certainly people in the government now who would love to amend that First Amendment to Congress shall make no law. Unless your religion is icky.
Yeah,
It's like, oh no, somebody's feedback.
Somebody's getting the feedback.
Who is it?
They both muted
Bob.
at the same time. Bob.
So I think that I don't know, like I think that this is all part of that also bigger story of religious groups when those cases don't go their way, they claim that it's stifling their religious freedoms, and so now they got their way and everybody gets to exercise their religious freedoms, and they're not happy about that either.
Yeah.
Discuss.
Yeah. Well, no, it's true. And that's the problem with politicizing religious beliefs. It becomes a game of me. I mean, I look at these politicians, and they're really just like kindergartners in a sandbox. You know, they're playing with their toys, but if they can't dominate the playground, then you know they go crying, and it sucks. You know, when the Satanist kids come over and want to, you know, do really weird things with cloaks and a staff with eyeballs on it. Looks like
It's okay.
Oh, it's a
as
broom.
long as
It's a
all
broom with eyeballs on
consensual.
Well, as long as they don't
Yeah.
eat the flesh and drink the blood of their savior, it'll be all right. Oh, wait a
Yeah,
minute.
it's consensual. Oh, that's
Wait a minute.
Well, all right. So I'd like to hear Matt's take on this too, because I do think it's a situation where when the religious right gets its way, they're not happy, and when they don't get their way, they cry persecution.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll get to that Elizabeth Hasselbeck article in a little bit, but
Yes, we will.
but I mean, this kind of goes to the thing of where people can talk religious freedom all they want to, but it kind of reveals when something like this happens. Well, there are two things that happen. In the case of something like Satanism, you're dealing with a religion that is not necessarily striving for what would be considered maybe higher moral ideals.
You could just say moral ideals. That's okay.
Well, there are high. There are some that are universally higher than others, but fair point. When your religion is based in self-indulgence, I mean, you're not exactly striving to make humanity better.
But wait a minute.
No.
Aren't you secretly, as a Christian, secretly happy that this is happening with the Satanists? Because this gives you validation of your belief, because without Satan there couldn't be God.
Is this a real question? Okay, didn't think so. I think it reveals. I mean, it still reveals this idea that it's Christians still wanting a country with an evangelical consensus, and they're just coming to they have to come to grips with the reality that that's not what they have anymore. The evangelical consensus broke around the time of the Civil War, and it's been a gradual eroding ever since. And yeah, they'll have to deal with what it's like to live not having cultural hegemony. And if you're going to go with the First Amendment, Satanists do have the right to their. I mean, and even if it wasn't Satanism, I mean, what was the Hindu prayer in Congress a year or two ago?
Mhm.
We are Christians and we are patriots.
Yeah.
That's fine. Continue to be a patriot continue to, fight wars for U.S. political intrigues, just as Jesus commanded. And, yeah, we'll see what kind of fruit that bears.
You know who's really to blame for all this?
Rick Perry.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay.
No, you can't. I already segued to Elizabeth Hasselbeck. You can't steal my
Okay, let's talk
segue.
about Elizabeth.
No, we can talk about Rick Perry. That's fine. Why not?
No,
Can
that's fine.
Can I make one comment on terms of what you said, Ken? And I understood why you said it. When it comes to politicizing religion,
Hmm.
when I think N.T. Wright's kind of correct about something he said once, though, and that's that religion is inherently still political, because you still have a body politic, and in Christianity's case, you're kind of subverting ideas of power in the world. Well, as long as you don't try to adopt and Christianize those power domains and try to, start advancing Christianity by the sword, which never happens. It's still.
Did you say it never happens, or that rather it never works? Because didn't it happen?
Well, I said it I said it doesn't happen, but I was being ironic.
Oh, I got it. I'm with you now. Missed the irony. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's cool. So, yeah, no, it was very dry. So when it comes to that, like, Christianity is meant to be kind of politically subversive in as much as it subverts the power hungriness of political and economic systems. And then I can only speak as a Christian. I can't speak as a Muslim or a Hindu or a Buddhist, but I just wanted to comment on that idea of, like, politicizing religion. And I know what you meant by that, but I just figured I wanted to address that issue of politics and religion.
Yeah. And that actually does bring us to the next part, which is to talk about the Elizabeth Hasselbeck comment, which was that the atheists, the evil atheists, removing prayer from school has caused the Christian deaths in Iraq.
It caused it, or it's similar to it?
Caused it.
Oh.
They were talking about the Christian deaths in Iraq, and then she was like, well, they took prayer out of school, so I'm just saying right there.
Yeah.
And I was totally reminded of her today that somebody had this there's a whole website devoted to this about, like, correlation and causality, and they had, like, there was a chart that showed, like, U.S. imports of lemons from Mexico are going up and murder rates in the United States are going down. And it's a really tight correlation. And somebody's like, man, we got to get some more lemons. Right? Like, her whole, and that is just her baiting her viewers to be like, yeah, she's right. They took prayer out of school. That's where everything starts. That's the whole problem right there. She totally set that up.
It's not 61 years of political destabilization in a region and the mass funding of Islamic militants to fight proxy wars against other dictators. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with the fact that we overthrew a democratically elected prime minister in Iran in 1953. It has nothing to do with the fact that we armed militants in Afghanistan in 1979. No. Prayer in schools. That's why.
Well, she even was, like, really disingenuous about it too. Where I don't know if she said it, but it seems like when I replayed it in my head, she's like, "Just saying, I can't. I'm not saying. I'm just saying." And I hate that.
Yeah. This is what I've come to term as the persecution complex that many Western Christians have. And I find it quite common. I mean, there's a very real persecution going on in Iraq right now. And my heart goes out to people who are being legitimately persecuted for whatever belief, whether their creed or their ethnicity or whatever. We should also say it's not just Christians being persecuted in Iraq. It's Yazidis and Druze and all sorts of other
Kurds.
Religious, Kurds. Well, the Yazidis are Kurds. I believe most of the Druze are Kurds as well.
Cool. We'll just say Kurds.
Yeah, particular Muslims who don't subscribe to the Wahhabist mentality. So it's not just Christians being persecuted. It's a whole slew of other religious and ethnic groups that are really taking the brunt of this.
So Matt, okay, so you given all of like really real persecution going on in the world, like really horrible things happening. Does it bother you when the religious right, when they don't get their way and they cry persecution? I mean, because that bothers me to no end.
Yeah, Jon Stewart did a piece a little while back. He's like, if you want to talk persecution, it's like, in New York City, it's like one of the churches has like an entire block of free parking out front every Sunday. He's like, I would kill for that kind of parking. Like, you know what I mean?
He would wage a jihad for parking.
So I mean, I think Stewart's right. I think you can't. Too much of it is a matter of them wanting cultural hegemony and being mad when they don't get their way. They're not good at sharing and being neighborly, and that's a problem.
So when local government, like when a state government like Oklahoma, when they make this decision to allow sectarian prayer as long as it's available to everyone, do you see that as like a win for equality, or is that a stab at persecution?
I would say it's a win for equality, because I mean, again, like we live in a pluralistic world, a globalized world, and a pluralistic world, and there are people of various faith traditions and those without faith traditions. And somehow we all need to learn to share the public space that we all have a right to. And so that will mean different things for the non-religious. Now, for people who are interreligious, that will mean sharing space with those of opposing viewpoints. I think for the non-religious, it means sharing space with those with religious viewpoints and multiple people with multiple religious viewpoints, and learning how to share that space well without it being a zero-sum game. Because at some point, the public sphere does represent, it's public, it's owned by everyone, including people with religious belief. And so I think the public sphere should reflect that. And how that can, I mean, whether it's I mean, the problem with I have with some of the atheists, I get the idea that they want a space that reflects lack of religion. On the other hand, you can't negate a public representation of a good chunk of the populace either. And I don't know how to work around the issue of like the positive and the negative, like positively putting out there, yes, a lot of us are religious people and this is our public space, with we are non-religious people and this is also our public space. I mean, either way, like, if everyone would just be humble and neighborly and discuss, I mean, maybe we could come to some sort of arrangement or agreement or something, but we don't do that. We have culture wars and litigation, and we accuse each other and badmouth each other. And so we have very negative rhetoric about the other, whichever belief or non-belief framework they work in, and it doesn't raise the public discourse.
But that tactic has worked so well so far. Why should we abandon it?
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, Matt, I actually agree with everything you said. I think you're absolutely right. But to my way of thinking, with regard to public space, you are absolutely 100% correct. But I think that there's a distinction between government space and public space, and that since, from a pragmatic standpoint, government can't adjudicate everything equally, so I'm saying don't even try. No religion in government space. Everyone plays by the same rules in public space.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're going to have certain people living by certain principles, and they'll see one schema dominating the others, because even the lack of schema can be a form of schema. You know what I mean? Like the whole issue of like, well, should we watch different shows on the television? Should we take turns watching shows? Should we turn off the TV? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
but that's something that you and I can work out amongst ourselves. What I'm saying is that when government gets involved in religion, those biases are going to creep in, and from a pragmatic standpoint, there's no way to be 100% fair and unbiased. And so I say don't even try. For instance, did you like the recently there was a thing where the Navy lodges took out the Bibles that were in the Navy lodge, and that was due to a FFRF complaint, and everybody cried religious persecution. But by taking them out of the rooms, they didn't put up a sign that said you can't take your Bible in here. The government removed itself from the religious discussion entirely.
Right. I think in some cases that could be an issue of, like, again, a loss of cultural hegemony, not necessarily persecution. I mean, not persecution. Because you're right, people can freely choose or not choose to do that. And yeah, I think that has more to do with the loss of hegemony than anything else. But
remind me again, hegemony is a big word.
When one view controls everything else and controls the culture.
Not just controls, but when it's utterly permeated throughout society. So,
right. If I'm thinking it, 5 other people were wondering it too. So I'm glad you filled me in.
Yeah. So with the issue of government removing itself, I mean, that's fine. I think the issue I would probably have with the government issues, at some point, the government will have some deep grounding that guides its discussions. So there's always going to be some, like, philosophical bottom or some moral bottom or some guiding principle or guiding
some power
philosophy.
Bottom. What?
That's terrible.
It's late, guys. It's late.
Hey, so
it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
It is tomorrow.
It's the future.
It's early.
Matt, I agree with you, and like, and again, like I'm with you in like 90% of the way. In that, like, I would like to know that my elected officials have some moral code, and I'd actually be okay if their moral code was biblically derived or something like that. Like, would you vote for anybody whose moral code is derived from, I don't know, the books of Cthulhu or something like that? Like, then I would begin to wonder, like, really, what is their moral code? But so I think that, like, knowing that a person's values and morals are religiously derived, that's not a bad thing for me. It just tells me sort of who they are.
Yeah, I mean, this is an issue too. Of, like, we have representative government. When people go from being an elected official representing a constituency, they don't all of a sudden lose that and enter this objective vacuum. Like, politics by its nature is very subjective. It's the subjective nature of the politician representing the subjective groupthink of its constituents. You know what I mean? So, that's part of the issue with representative government, which I think is better than others, but still, like to get into that public sphere and to have this kind of, like, objectivity is all, which is why I kind of buy the pluralistic framework a little more, is because, like, you're going to get people representing. I mean, if enough of the population wants a person whose moral code, at least they claim, derives from a certain religious background, if the constituency wants it, they're going to vote that in.
Yeah, I know. I agree. I mean, that's true. That's what's going to happen. And I think that it's okay for someone's moral landscape to be informed by a religion. And that also gets into a greater question of, like, should a representative vote their conscience, or do they vote what the constituents want?
Yeah.
That's a whole other can of worms.
And that's the thing. The issue is very complex in terms of how we get, where do we get our moral driving passions from in the decisions we make, whether you're in government or because even, like, no one becomes totally objective even if they're working a government job. There's still a part of them that will drive the agendas forward that they see best. And unfortunately, that means that sometimes the corrupt get in there. Sometimes incompetent people who mean well get in there. Sometimes people who don't mean well get in there and are really competent. Like,
he had no intention of doing good, but he was really good at his job.
It's like a Nick Offerman's character. Nick Offerman.
Yeah.
I don't like getting chummy with people. So sometimes I'll intentionally forget someone's name so they don't think we're too close.
Is that in Justified? Does he say that?
No, that's in
Parks
Parks,
and
and
Rec.
Recreation.
Parks and Rec. Okay.
Yeah. That's a Ron Swanson quote right there.
Oh, okay.
Ron Swanson, that's his character.
He
yeah.
intentionally calls people by the wrong name just so that they don't think that they're too close.
Yeah. So Ken, I don't know. I think we beat on that horse enough, but you got to mention this guy that was the
Did you say we've peed on that horse enough?
I said we beat on that horse enough, which is a terrible.
I don't support
expression.
either of those things.
It's a turn of phrase. It's a metaphor from way back.
We don't pee on horses at PETA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to hope we made some time to talk about this guy in Texas that was the anti-gay.
Oh my god,
The
this is the
anti-gay
best.
crusader that I don't want to blow the headline, although people are trying to.
So we've always said that you can sort of set your watches by the really like vehemently anti-gay politicians, and this guy he was was it Greg Abbott? No.
Corrine
Jonathan
Rodriguez
Sanz.
Sands.
Yeah. So Jonathan Sands, his wife,
Not the font.
Corinne.
His wife is Corrine.
Yeah, she left him to go date another woman.
Well, I guess according to the article, is like her leaving him is what drove him to the this anti-LGBTQ group. But
Just
I
a hurt.
get it. I get it. He's upset. I understand. I mean, that's it sucks, dude. But does it? All right. So this is what I took away from this, because like I don't want to mention anybody's names and talk too close about it, but I knew this couple that like they were married, and the dude had already been in another relationship, and he had this teenage son that was growing up and heading off to college, and then he married this other woman, and she was divorced and had 2 kids that were off to school and all. So they're both in sort of like this empty nest kind of point in their lives, and they got married, and 5 seconds of watching them together, I was like, hey, do you know that dude is gay? That guy is gay. And the whole family was like, oh, yeah, well, he's just kind of funny like that. And they had a relationship that lasted like maybe 5 or 6 years. And then the last couple of years were very tragic because the woman became very invested in the relationship, and the guy just went off to sort of pursue this different gay lifestyle. And on one hand, I'm like, awesome, dude, be who you are. But on the other, I'm like, shame on you for not being honest with this woman and leading her along all that way. And so I wonder if, and we joke about it all the time about, like you said it, Ken, you can set your watch by it. As soon as these guys that cry the longest and the loudest about anti-LGBTQ things, I think that they're coming from a place of some kind of like repressed sexuality where they're living the lie. And that lie is put upon them by their religious convictions. Just go be who you are.
Yeah. Well, I think this guy, like, he, as many men do, unfortunately, he took this instance of his wife leaving him, and he made it about him and not about her. It's like, it has nothing to do with you, dude. She likes ladies. Like,
we almost have another George Costanza reference in there too, where he kept dating women and then they would turn gay, and then
oh yeah, it's been a very
coincidence,
Seinfeld
I think not.
episode. Yeah, but I saw the headline and I read through it and I was like, it's almost like too hilarious to be true, but it is. So this guy, he's the leader of Texas's largest anti-gay organization, which I can only imagine is saying a lot because it's Texas and they've got a lot of people.
It's Texas.
The
And it's
largest one.
Texas.
I just wonder if a lot of this anti-LGBTQ rhetoric comes from a place of self-loathing.
Well, where else would it come from? I mean, you don't hate other people for something random because you love yourself and the world looks great through your eyes.
Well, there's stuff there on otherness, though. Like, otherness always elicits fear from... Like, outliers, outcast, always elicit fear. Either fear of becoming like them and being the outcast, or just fear of the unknown.
But again, if you look,
I'm
at
not
the
saying that's
outsider-
good.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not saying that you are, but if your outlook on the other is not, or on yourself is not encompassed in comfort and love and all those happy things, then these negative things, you have the biggest anti-gay organization in Texas, and that's pretty big.
What was that? I feel like there was something that broke through there a moment where I was like, yeah, if you yourself aren't living in a place of comfort, then
You end up being a dick.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway.
We can stop the show now.
So we solved it. We solved it. Everyone be happy and stop being assholes to each other.
Yeah. Perfect love drives out fear, you idiots. I actually shouldn't call them idiots because, Jesus said not to call people idiots, so. Douchebags.
Douchebags. Didn't he call someone an idiot?
Jesus said nothing about douchebags.
But that wouldn't.
Jesus said nothing about douchebags. Maybe because douchebags weren't invented yet. Maybe because douching wasn't invented yet.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you have I'm not.
It's a living document, Matt. It's a living document.
I'm using it in a metaphorical, insulting. Like, you're a douchebag. I'm not saying you're a douchebag. I'm
You
saying
douchebag. No.
Where did this conversation just go?
I don't know. Somewhere weird. I'm scared.
I'm staying out of it.
I'm pretty sure Jesus didn't have anything to say about douchebags.
He did, according to Thomas Cahill, use a Macedonian idiom for shithole in Mark, where it says, "It is not what goes into the mouth and goes down the shithole that makes you unclean, but what comes from the heart that makes you unclean." Although, there's probably a play on words since the bowels. Never mind. Macedonian idiom.
That's interesting. I would like to read about that.
I love biblical scatological humor. There's so much there.
Since we last convened, I saw Noah finally. I know, almost a year late, but
No, you're supposed to be
has
looking
anyone-
for Jesus.
Hey,
not
how
Noah.
was it?
it was all right.
Just okay?
Not
I was watching it, and I get in that way where when a movie is based on a book or some piece of literature and it doesn't stick to it just right, I get kind of annoyed. And I feel like with Noah, there's plenty to work with. There are 2 Noah stories. Pick one. They could have gone and embellished a little bit, but they embellished a little too much, and I got annoyed. But
You're
Anthony
just mad 'cause-
Hopkins as Methuselah is awesome.
You're just mad they took from the Book of Watchers and Enoch and stuff.
I like Enoch. There were too many Watchers and not enough Nephilim.
Dude, don't be picky.
It was okay. I don't know. Tubal
I
Cain was
read-
kind of cool, but I don't know. It was iffy.
I had read in some reviews that, and I haven't seen it yet, and I've been kicking around watching it one weekend, but I had read on some reviewers were like, it was Aronofsky's bait and switch where he was here's Noah movie, Christians, and then haha, atheism.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't say atheism. It certainly was not an
Yeah.
atheist movie.
No.
I mean,
And I had read that it has some religion critical moments.
a few in sort of like almost like a
Feedback loop.
Abraham-esque sort of way, where there's a lot of like the people around Noah are like, "Dude, are you serious?" Because not to get, are you gonna see it? Spoiler alert to anyone listening.
Go ahead, yeah, go ahead and dish it.
There's a point where, like, he's ready to like end the human species. Like, like he is convinced everyone on his ship and his family is going to die, and he's going to ensure of it. And they're like, really? This girl's pregnant and you're gonna kill her babies?
Awesome.
But yeah, I mean, it gets really infanticide-y for a second.
Is that a word? Infanticide?
It is now. It sort of leans that way. They portray Noah as an asshole, and I know a lot of people are upset about that, but he kind of was in the Bible. He was certainly a drunk.
Right, wasn't that one of the aspects of the Noah character, that he was a drunk in his
He
old
was a
age?
drunk. Yeah, well, he had witnessed the decimation of the entire planet. I'm sure it would drive just
I'm
about
going to
anyone
stop you right
drink.
there. You committed my
Yeah.
pet peeve number 1.
Yeah. What,
Oh my gosh.
decimation?
Decimation.
I know.
Decimation means 1/10.
Yeah, it means reduced to 1/10. And they were reduced to way less than 1/10.
No,
Colloquial
it's reduced
decimation.
by 1/10.
No, it's reduced to 1/10.
No, by 1/10.
Yeah, decimation. It's as in moving a decimal point. If
Oh,
you
we're gonna
decimate
argue about this
100, if you
All right.
decimate 100, it becomes 10.
I'm doing the Googles.
All
If
right.
you decimate
do the
10,
Googles.
it becomes
Decimate was a practice used by the Roman army where 1 in 10 would draw lots, and the other 9 would kill the 10th, and they would draw lots. And it was a method of enforcing obedience in the troops. So decimation means reduced by 1/10.
Removal of a tenth.
1. Removal of a 10th? Okay. He had seen the entire world destroyed. Better?
Fair enough.
You know what? They're just going to change that in the Oxford
Yeah,
English Dictionary,
sorry,
because
I
apparently
can't believe I
now
did that.
literally means figuratively.
All right,
Did
I
you
know-
see that?
Yeah, I did. And that's another one of my pet peeves. But one of my, and Christy will attest to this. When I hear people use decimate to mean like completely wipe out, I'm always like, oh, stop! Oh,
What
it
if
sets
they-
my teeth on edge.
What if they say 100% decimation?
Wouldn't that just be ensuring
Oh,
that
no.
1 in 10 of everyone died?
Oh,
That's
there
good.
you go. That's what it would mean.
What if they were decimated 10 times?
Then there would be 99% left.
What if... Alright, screw it.
I mean, 1% of 99, 99% of left. Anyway, let's move on. Sorry.
Anyway, yeah. So continue on. It was okay. Like, there were some weird things. I got really annoyed when they got on the Ark and like the 3 sons all didn't have wives. I was like, wait.
You know what happened on that boat?
I read
Yeah.
one reviewer, or didn't read, I was listening to one reviewer in a podcast was saying that there's a scene where like Noah is gonna kill an infant and he's got like this big knife to do it, and he's kind of like looking up. He's like, I'm gonna do it, God, stop me anytime. Gonna do it. Gonna kill this kid. Stop me anytime. Stop me anytime. And when I don't know, just listen to the guy describe the whole scene, I was reminded of those times when my brother and I would get into a fight, and like you go like, I'm gonna swing my arms, and if you step into them, it's not my fault.
I'm just gonna kick. if you get hit, it's your fault. Yeah.
I'm gonna let this knife fall
near
on
the end
this
of the movie.
infant.
Yeah. That was kind of near the end. I did like that one of my favorite biblical characters was in it. I love
Like,
Methuselah,
who's that?
man. Methuselah is so awesome. I like the obscure ones. Oh, and they reference Enoch, who's one of my other favorite characters. But I was never
Yeah.
big on Noah himself.
Yeah, overrated.
Yeah.
I hear a little jealousy.
I mean, yeah.
Noah,
He was all right.
Samson. Guys like Noah and Samson. I mean, they kind of have had their day in the popular
Samson
consciousness.
was overrated. His hair got cut and he lost his power. Lame. Literally lame after his hair got cut.
No, seriously, they scooped out his eyes. It was awful.
Yeah.
You guys
Um,
are talking over my head.
Okay, so Samson was this guy in the Bible.
He had long hair. He was the
He's
first
one-
metalhead.
I'm like, was there a movie about it? Because
No. Well,
I'd really like a movie because the books.
That's what I thought Ken was going for. He was like, I went to go see Noah, but I was really upset because the book was way better.
The book was better. No, it was okay. It was decent. I think the highlight for me was the fact that only 2 of the animals were actual animals out of all of the animals in that fucking movie. The rest were CGI, which is pretty incredible. But it was certainly an animal rightsy film.
Yeah, very
yeah, I
rightsy.
read that as well.
Very animal rightsy, which makes sense, given. Whoa!
Wow,
Yikes!
who lives in the hood?
Jason.
Jason does.
Sorry, guys.
Broadcasting from New Jack City.
Live from Fruitvale Station. Zombie Popcorn presents.
Oh boy, it is late. It is very late.
Hey, all right, so
it's
all right, I want to
early.
change
Yeah.
gears a little bit, but I just saw this. But what was this thing about Alabama Church takes Bible?
Not a
literal?
real site.
Stone
National
Women's Death?
report.
Oh, fucking
Not
A,
real.
thank God.
Well, you
I
got to
thought
fill in
Jason said that. It was like, oh, he's baiting us right here.
I even sent it to Bob's cell phone.
I know. I saw that. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, National Report is it's almost as good as Christwire.
Well, can we just tell the story so we can finish out so the listeners know what
Sure.
we're talking about?
So Jason just sent this around. Alabama church takes Bible literally, stones one to death for working on Sunday. A 31-year-old pregnant woman, wife and mother of 3, was brutally murdered after she was seen working on Sunday, or the Sabbath. The Sabbath.
Or
Sunday
the
isn't
Sabbath.
by a fellow member of the church.
It was like, we're taking God's word seriously from now on. None of these homo gays with their just this whole like rant.
With their weekend jobs.
Dude, I read through that. and I was
Working
like,
at a
man-
Hank's Bass Pro Shop. Oh my god.
I was like, man, I really don't want to have to respond to this.
Thoughts? Oh.
All right, but all right, so what does that say? That I almost believe that. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That is,
Yeah, it's-
like I read
it's
that. And
Poe's
it doesn't
law.
sound outside the realms of possibility.
That is really true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's coming from the Christian.
I was listening to these guys talk, and they were sort of talking about like the like the West Memphis 3. They've kind of been in the news now and on. Like Damien Eccles is sort of on his book tour and everything. And one guy made a comment that like when somebody commits murder or is suspected of committing murder, and they always look and they say like, oh, he had satanic books in his house, or he had a Dungeon Master's Guide, or the Player's Handbook, or Monster Manual, or a Quran. Nobody ever says like Bible reading Christian commits murder. How come that's never a headline?
Yeah,
Well,
because that's the case of the other. That is pointing to, like, no one's going to be like, hey, this guy who's exactly like most of you did this. No, they have to point to something that
Yeah,
makes
alright.
him extraordinary. And But this website here, National Report, always reminds me of Christwire. Do you ever read that?
Yes, and I have been
Conservative-
fooled by Christwire a couple times too.
Yeah. Conservative values for an unsafe world. And they have some, like, really passable, like, things on there sometimes. But the top story right now, and has been for a while, they really need to update their site more often. Obama... What?
I was just gonna say, this kind of reminds me of the time I posted that one Charisma article about depression, and Bob was like, "I thought they were joking," like, and then like we were like halfway through talking about the article, and he's like, "Is this for real?" Like I feel like that just happened,
Yeah.
but it's fake this time.
It's fake this time. Obama is infecting Christians with Ebola to destroy Jesus and start a new age of liberal darkness.
I saw that one. I posted that one.
Yeah, that's where I saw it from.
Well, all right. So
Yeah.
so this is why Christwire and those places, like, they make my head explode at least twice a month. There was a guy who was an evangelical pastor, and he was talking about the Ebola virus, and he said that what was his name? He was somebody in the Bible Belt, and he said that the Ebola virus is here, and it's gonna solve all our problems. It's gonna solve all the problems of homosexuality and atheism, and I wasn't sure if he was intimating that, like, the Ebola virus was going to kill all the atheists and all the homosexuals and solve all those problems, or if it was going to kill a whole bunch of people, and then the atheists and the homosexuals will repent and be washed in the blood of the Lord.
Or it would kill all the Christians, and they wouldn't have to worry about the homosexuals or the atheists.
Or that.
Dude, I'm right here.
Yeah. But no, so that guy actually almost said that. I mean, that guy, and he was very serious.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it's not shocking because Pat Robertson says stuff. All the big players say something really random after a big, devastation that happens. At the hurricane, the Twin Towers, they're all saying it's because of...
Robertson has blamed every tragedy in the past 10 years on homosexuality and atheism.
Yeah.
That he has. That he has. And how.
And how?
I still feel like there's a way they can still get me, so I'm not going to say anything.
How about Nintendo reveals Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire after pagan ceremony summoning of the games? Real or fake?
I have
I'm gonna
no
say
idea
real.
what you just said.
I'm going to go fake.
Yeah, I'm still on Christwire. It's so good.
But if this was during the Satanic Panic, that would be true.
That would be true, yeah.
So that's why you can't
It's
tell.
believable.
Yeah.
It's believable.
Have you seen Bob Larson has been trying to make a comeback on Facebook, and he posted, this is how hard he's trying to stay relevant. He posted about how the devil worshipping lead singer of Iron Maiden is a pilot.
Is a what?
Pilot.
Yeah.
Like a pilot?
Like Pontius Pilate?
Like he flies airplanes, he has his own fleet. But the fact that he's talking about Iron Maiden still is really bizarre.
I love Iron Maiden.
I do too, but they're not relevant in terms of trying to boost up the scare. It'd be different if he said somebody like, I don't know, Katy Perry or somebody.
Porn. Yeah, Katy Perry.
He doesn't even know who that is.
I know, that's what's so funny.
Ugh. I'm looking at his... Oh, he's pissed off about Adult Swim's show Black Jesus.
I love that show.
Oh, boy.
I think that show is hilarious. Have you seen it? It's
No.
funny.
Not
Make a
yet.
point to watch Black Jesus. It has the same sense of humor. It's done by the same people that did the Boondocks, and it's a live action thing. And I really think that the guys that did the Boondocks, they were like, I'm tired of pissing off white people. Let's piss off religious people. Let's piss off white religious people.
Yes.
It's very funny. Give it a watch. Adult Swim, 9 o'clock.
Do
Are
you
we getting
work
paid
for
for
Adult
that?
Swim?
No, I'm guessing at the time. I Hulu it, so.
Wait,
Bob
we talk
Larson, Thor
You know we're
looks
not-
like a lady.
we're not getting paid for any of those endorsements you just did, Bob.
You got to give them away for free at first,
It's like a drug.
right?
Are we going to talk
Oh
about?
God, he's awful.
Are we going to talk about the evolution one at all, or is it just kind of like, yeah, someone thought evolution wasn't true? It made the news.
I think you just did.
The end.
The end. A pastor said that evolution wasn't true because he's never seen species change. Because that's how the world works. By that logic, I've never seen the Great Pyramids. They don't exist.
Yeah.
It's true.
I've never been to Portugal. It must not exist.
Bob, I've never seen your new house.
Right. I live in a vacuum. It's actually a TARDIS.
I've never seen you move houses.
Nope. Still living in Norfolk.
We have to because me and Bob have been seen in the same place. We're still in Norfolk.
Nope. It was a hologram. It was a life model decoy.
It was a real Bob.
Yeah. But all right, so this guy, like, this is how disingenuous these guys can be, though, in that if you look, there are evolutionary events that have been documented in our lifetime, and those are things like there's the Galapagos finches, where they show evolution in action with the development of the beaks, and then one guy had the bacteria study where he made the bacteria evolve to be able to digest citric acid, and they just kept forcing these bacteria to evolve in the petri dish over decades, and they kept track of it. It's like one of the longest running experiments around, and he showed
There was
that it can change.
The Italian lizards. There was an island off the coast of Italy where these new lizards were introduced, and within a few decades they had adapted new physical, not just like, adapted, but had actually developed new physical features to allow them to cope in this environment.
To one of the points Bob made about the Fitches, I think the only problem with that example is, again,
Is that finch is a stupid word?
No, but it doesn't involve peanut butter.
It makes me think of a delightful little bird.
Yeah,
Um,
as it should.
so with the Finches,
No peanut butter.
I mean, the issue that all these guys are always going to bring up is that they haven't seen the. It's not like they saw a reptile change to a bird. I mean, that's the type of thing they're criticizing.
Yeah.
Like, not just like.
There's no crocoduck.
Yeah, exactly. They're not looking for the. They see no crocoduck. And I mean, evolution. The way it works is, I had to explain my students asked a similar question one semester, like, why don't we see it happening now? And I kind of had to explain, well, let's look at a timeline here. And the way this works is you're only here for like this much time, and what the time amount that we need is like from like that wall to that wall, and you're not going to be here for that.
Just lay it out there for 'em. Like,
Yeah.
So
Because your life seems like a long period of time, but it's not.
So
On
I
a
think
geological
that,
scale.
So I think that having the proper context of time is important in this, and that's true. But there's other like evolutionary thinkers like Dawkins who says that speciation is kind of a myth. It's an arbitrary line that we draw in the sand. And so if you go back 10 million years, you could have an unbroken line of mother to daughter, 10 million years, and in every instance, the daughter looks just like the mother. So where do you draw that line of speciation? When does that event of speciation occur? And that's these things that these guys have been arguing about for decades. And so even if you could even if you could say like this is when the speciation event occurred, it would be so subtle you'd never know it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Just the headline is like, what is it? Says Pastor Rick Joyner, evolution is impossible because I've never seen species change. Says some dude who doesn't know how to use the internet.
Oh yeah, yeah. Being bad at science doesn't mean science isn't true. That'd be like me like denying like.
Jesus.
It'd be me denying integral calculus. I'm bad at it. I don't understand how it works, therefore it's not real.
These guys, like they throw these flimsy arguments out, and people swallow them up whole cloth. And I just think that it's one of those things like, okay, fine, I get it, it's tough and you don't understand it, but spend 5 minutes researching it, and the answer is so much more interesting and vibrant than your stupid dismissal.
Yeah.
That's what frustrates me the most about these guys.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a perfectly valid argument. I mean, people. It comes back to my usual explanation of why people don't agree with this, and it's science is hard. Like, it's difficult and it challenges your perceptions, especially when you have ingrained ones, because it's built on not just base assumptions, but it's built on a body of knowledge that encompasses all of human history, and it continues to grow. And people have problems with that. People like to know that there's a truth, and that's the end of the discussion. But in science, there isn't really a truth end of discussion. It's like all right, really good idea, explains everything we're seeing, and then something new comes along and goes, oh, well, maybe it goes a little bit more this way. It's like trying to draw a really long, straight line in the sand, and you have a stick. And sometimes you have to step back and you're like, oh, no, maybe it's this way.
Science is an increase of probability. It's never. Well, is it fair to say it's never certain?
It's certain about some things.
Is that like I don't want to.
But you know what? Right, so the even in the light of like absolute certainty, a lot of science is like, well, I'm absolutely certain, and the caveat is, if I'm presented with good enough conflicting evidence, I'll change my mind.
But the hardest part is people don't change their mind. That's how we get other things.
Well, I'm really curious because, man, I've always sort of admired that you've been really comfortable with the idea of like evolution, and you've reconciled it with your faith, and I actually applaud that because, I mean, that's something that, yeah, thanks, Jay. I mean, that's
round of applause.
That you sort of have to come to grips with. You're not sticking your head in the sand about it, and you're okay with it, but. Like, I'm wondering, like, does that vein in your forehead come out when somebody says, like, well, if we evolved from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? Like, how do you handle that?
I mean, I don't get annoyed by comments like that because I understand, like, there's this huge culture of Christians that doesn't understand the science of evolution, and like, it's like that episode of South Park where Mrs. Garrison explains evolution. If you have never watched it, watch the clip of Mrs. Garrison explaining evolution to the kids. And that's how a lot of people think about... You'll have to watch it. I'm not going to explain it. And it's like that. So just look it up. Mrs. Garrison, Evolution, South Park.
Give me a second.
All right. Not looking it up now, but I will. And the listeners should look it up now because it's just about the end of the show.
So most of them see evolution kind of like that. And I do get annoyed when you present good information and thoughtful information and their recourse is to some inane talking point like, well, evolution, that's just what atheists will say to get you to believe in that demonic tomfoolery or something like that. I don't know. Um,
In the beginning, we were
Was
all
that guy named? Was
Okay.
that guy
Swimming
named
around
like?
the water.
Was that like Billy Bob in your classroom? Did he have like two first names? Joe Bob, Steve Bob, Bob Steve, something that involves Bob.
Price.
I wanted to go something
Yeah.
Which is your
I
name.
have one
You know
Bob.
that, right? Like,
One Bob. One. It's a very important
I imagine him as more of a Cletus.
yeah,
Something
I
like
get
this.
most annoyed by
In the
intransigence.
beginning, we were
like
all fish.
to
okay?
have the discussion.
Swimming
It's one thing if
around
a
the
person
water.
hears me,
And then
and
one
like
day,
you
a
can't
couple-
change a paradigm overnight. They might hear it and go, "Well, it's very interesting. I'm not sure if I'm comfortable." I don't know why I'm doing that voice, but I'm not sure if I'm comfortable.
I
You're
think
from Virginia.
It's like I'm not sure. I'm not very comfortable with that. But over time, like I wasn't comfortable with it either. You never know what'll happen.
Yeah.
But then there are others who are just really feisty and intransigent, and like will want to tell you why you're wrong. And those attitudes annoy me a bit more than those who are curious but cautious.
Mm-hmm.
So I have
Yeah, I think
sympathy for
curious
the-
but cautious is fine to be. But with that, though, that's the end of our show.
That's what you think.
That's what I think.
I
It is.
wanted to
It
go
is,
something
right?
Like this.
Well, no, thanks for that, man. I
We
appreciate
were all
your efforts
fish.
there. I mean that
Swimming
sincerely.
around in the water. And then one day, a couple fish had a retard baby. And the
That's
retard
just-
baby was
That was probably okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lot different than the way we started out the show.
Yeah. It's come full circle. It's fine. It's fine. But anyway, that's the end of our show, I do believe. It's been an hour with us, listening to us rant and rave and go back and forth. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, outbursts, compliments, whatever, you can email us, nonreligious@zombie-popcorn.com. You can check us out on Facebook and Google+. Just go for the Zombie Popcorn profile. And you can always call and leave Jason a lovely voicemail explaining to him why you think we're stupid or wrong, or we should be nicer to Matt, or Matt should do more Bob impersonations.
We should do Bite Nicer than
So okay. I can't do it anymore, man. I've lost my touch.
You can call us on the Zombie Popcorn
Hotline. You cut
Hotline.
me.
757-337-2195.
I could do my Ken impression.
Don't-
Sorry, I interrupted
don't
you.
do it. Don't
I
do it.
fucking want
So,
to see the Ken impression.
It's more the things he says. Like he's a scholar of religion. That means he studies
Yeah.
religion.
Sometimes you
we have
need to
that
reiterate
recorded.
things. Yeah.
We should make a reel just of that.
Oh my god. Anyway, we will see you next time.
Crusader, he's Captain Obvious.
Yeah, have a good night.
Bye bye, good night.
You guys are dicks.